a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the first Dr. Kevin show of the month. And as always, on the first of the month, we drag from Matt Connarton Unleashed, one Matt Connarton, who's here tonight, check. We talk about what's going on in the world, mostly political, but other subjects do come up. And I don't know, I think Matt and I might find one or two things to talk about today, check. And as always, it's a call-in show, a live call-in show. So you can call in and you can share an opinion. Don't attack anyone. Don't be disrespectful. But you can share an opinion or ask a question. And so if you'd like to call in and be part of this conversation, you can do so by calling 202-570-7057. And the last time somebody said our politics in this country is boring was never. Matt, welcome.
Hello.
So have you had any good, interesting musical groups on your show recently? I know you're splitting your time between pontification and the playing of live bands.
Oh, we've had so many today. Actually, these guys were Skyping in from Connecticut, but we had a great band called DC Wolves. Cannot recommend them enough. Really, really good. But yeah, we've had just tons of great musicians on the show lately. It's been amazing.
And if people would like to catch Matt's show, they can do so by going to mattconnarton.com, 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Or if they are in the greater Manchester, New Hampshire area, they can tune in at 95.3 WMNH. So you can catch him on the live airwaves. You can catch him on the internet waves. Wherever you do, Matt will wave. And he'll let you IM in, call in, tap dance in. It's an open door, chaotic policy. Right, Matt?
Yeah. That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
A tap dance I haven't done since before the pandemic. I'm way overdue, but we just don't know when that's going to happen. But I will surprise you one of these days. I won't tell you I'm coming. I'll just show up. Yeah.
Did you get your new COVID shot?
Nope.
Oh.
Did you?
Yes, I don't fool around. Yep, I got my new COVID shot and the flu shot all on the same day, and it put me down. It put me down hard for one night, like it always does. Whew, I barely got through my show that day, but it's worth it.
Yep, and I am in no way, shape, or form an anti-vaxxer, but because of certain things that are going on with me medically at this time, it has been recommended I bypass this one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So, but they assured me that the fact that I did the first 3 rounds will give me some immunity. And then 2 weeks ago, more or less, my husband got COVID for the first time.
Oh, no kidding.
And, he's a type 1 diabetic, and it hit him hard. We ended up in the emergency room, but he's better now. But I was sleeping beside him sleeping beside him the couple of days it was coming on. The day he tested positive was an hour after we'd been sleeping side by side, breathing the same air, and I got negative the whole time.
Yeah.
So I may be one of the lucky ones anyway. Who knows?
Well, you probably had it and didn't. Have you ever tested positive for it?
Nope, never.
Me neither. But I just assume, neither has Jenny actually, but I just assume, I assume I've had it, and I've probably had it more than once, but I just, I'm vaxxed up the wazoo. Sorry, anti-vaxxers out there. And so I probably had it and just had no idea, was just asymptomatic, and probably you too. You probably had it. They estimate about 95% of the American population has carried it at some point. So almost impossible to avoid it completely. So, you probably had it.
And I was just asymptomatic. So,
yeah.
Well, but you don't have to apologize to the anti-vaxxers unless you're trying to shove it up their wazoo.
Well,
that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but yeah, before we jump into the world of politics, because there's a lot to discuss, and I'm anxious to hear some of your perceptions on what's going on and some of your best guesses of how things may unfold, none which we hold you accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
How else is the world of Matt Connarton?
Oh, not bad. I've got a big, I'm actually going to have to take a day off from the radio show for this, and that's really unusual, but coming up on October 26th, I've got a big corporate event in Providence. I'm going to be hypnotizing a room full of real estate agents. So looking forward to that. Those corporate events are good money.
Oh, yeah. I do corporate events. I know exactly what you mean. I don't do it as a hypnotist. I do it as a motivational, inspirational speaker.
Yeah.
I always open the room with the same line. Get off your ass and do something good with your life. Works every time. They're really motivated and inspired.
Well, what I like to do is if it's people in sales, what I like to do is get them into a state of deep hypnosis, and then I perform the Alec Baldwin scene from Glengarry Glen Ross, and I swear at them. I don't really do that, but it'd be funny if I did.
The interest rates are in your favor. The interest rates are in your favor. I can just get the subliminal suggestions you must put in there. So, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that event.
Thank you.
I've got an event on Sunday, a Zoom event, and if anybody out there is interested, they can go to nhmetaphysical.com, nhmetaphysical.com. I'm doing a spiritually interactive panel. I have 3 of the practitioners that are involved with New Hampshire Metaphysical and myself discussing, do heaven and hell exist?
Oh.
And it's a free Zoom event. People can share their ideas, ask questions, do whatever. We do these SIP events once a month. Last month was What is a Soul? Month before is, psychic or psychotic. Next month is going to be Have we lived before and what does that mean? And we're just trying to get a number of, I'm going to call it competent and qualified spiritual people, spiritual teachers and healers, to kind of weigh in and give different perspectives. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. And it's really, I call it a sip event for the spiritually curious. Come take a sip. Just check it out. See what's being said. Because there's a lot of people out there looking. Like their own religion has deserted them, or they've had a bad experience in the New Age metaphysical community, or, they've been taken advantage of by a spiritual teacher or a religious figure, like a priest or a minister. But they still feel that longing for connection to something.
Right.
And so we do these events once a month just to kick stuff around. We're not indoctrinating. Nobody's pushing their belief system or religion. We're just having an open conversation. So that's 4:00 Eastern time on Sunday. Sounds good to anybody? Yeah. NewHampshireMetaphysical.com. Jenny would probably love the conversation. Who'd be right up her alley?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's kind of gotten away from a lot of that. But I am curious because so yesterday on the show, coincidentally, we were talking about. I do a segment on Wednesdays with my friend Eric Pilcher. It's called My Favorite Conservative because he's my favorite conservative, largely because I can have a conversation with him and we can disagree about things without it ever becoming contentious or acrimonious or anything like that. He's just very easy to talk to, and we actually do agree on some things. He doesn't like Trump, for example. In fact, he despises him. But he's an evangelical. And but he also does our classic film reviews on Fridays. And this Friday, tomorrow, his classic film review is The Exorcist. And so we actually got into a conversation yesterday about exorcism and demonic possession. And I told a story because I'm a skeptical. I'm not a religious person. I was raised Catholic, but I'm not religious. But I told a story, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, Dr. Kevin, if it's ever come up on the show, but not something that happened to me, but something that happened to someone I know, an English teacher I had in school named Mr. Phelps. He told a story once about how he had a friend who had a mountain climbing accident and ended up in like a full body cast, and I think might have been in a coma or he was in and out of consciousness, and Mr. Phelps was visiting him in the hospital. And while the guy's lying there unconscious, all of a sudden his eyes pop open and he grabs Mr. Phelps by the arm and starts squeezing really hard. And he's grunting. He's making like these growling noises. And Mr. Phelps, when he told this story, and this was when I was a kid, obviously I was in school when he told this, but this story has always haunted me. He said that he looked into his friend's eyes in that moment and his friend wasn't there. It was like something else was there. I've never forgotten those words. And and that story has always haunted me because it's not something that happened to me or even something that I witnessed. But for some reason, hearing that story, it just really stuck with me. And it's stuck with me all these years. I remember hearing the story as though I heard it yesterday. And he was a great storyteller. He told a lot of stories. That's why all the kids loved him. But that's the only story I actually remember from Mr. Phelps. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but we ended up on the show yesterday. We ended up talking about demons and possession and exorcism. It was kind of an interesting twist for my show.
Sounded more like you were on my show.
I know. Yeah. Well, it happens sometimes on my show. You never know where we're going to end up.
God, you should have just taken a second and text me and said, tune in, call in, weigh in.
Yeah, I know.
If I wasn't with clients, I would have. I don't even remember what I was doing yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was doing last hour. So, it all fits. It all works. Do I believe that possessions happen? Absolutely. Have I had firsthand experience? Absolutely. Could I tell you stories of actual things that happened that I was present for? Absolutely. And I actually do on my ghost DVD. And when I teach my ghost class, I'll talk about actual events that have happened in the last 33 years of me doing this work that there were witnesses for. That people saw this shit happening. It wasn't just me.
Wow.
Yeah. There, just like you have people that are in form that feed off other people, actually, take the concept of Sheriff Freud to a whole new level, people that are sadistic, people that get joy out of other people's pain. And of course, I teamed this up with that in my practice, my one-on-one practice with people. I've had more than a few through the years, and a couple that I will never be able to forget some of the stories, even if I wanted to. Cult abuse survivors, and when you think of the horrible things people do to each other, and intentionally, and that there are people that literally get it makes them happy. They get sexually excited by it. I mean, like they get turned on by killing somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, these energies survive the body. So just like there are people out there that you don't ever want to be in a room alone with, there are energies out there that you don't ever want to have attracted to you.
Right.
Why is that such a far bridge for some people to cross? So anyway.
Well, I think it's a far bridge for some people to believe that, an entity can actually occupy another person's physical being. You know what I mean? That I think is what someone like me who is skeptical, I'm skeptical of that. But again, for some reason, that story just haunts me, but.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of semi-stealing a meme I saw on Facebook. Many of those people are the same people that said, "Oh yeah, somebody got crucified and was completely dead and got up and walked away." I can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that absolutely happened. Not a problem. Oh, okay. You can believe that. No real historical evidence. All the eyewitnesses are long dead. But it's too far to say there could be a malignant energy and you have some people that are susceptible to it, which could come across as a mental illness. We like to call it a mental and emotional illness. And, I have said for years, you've heard me say it, Matt, 80-90% of mental and emotional illness have some kind of psychic ability that is misunderstood, has gotten in some way twisted or warped, that is involved with that process.
But are you saying then that if someone is seemingly possessed, that it's not literally a demon, but rather it is an energy that is causing? Because, psychiatrists will tell you psychiatrists who don't believe in possession, which is probably most psychiatrists, will tell you that it's just mental illness. But are you saying it's actually an energy that is, so in a way it's both, right? Is that what you're saying, that it's actually an energy that is causing that mental illness to come out and therefore resemble what some might interpret as a demonic possession?
So let's follow this line here.
Mm-hmm.
You're familiar with the term clairaudient, correct? And if you're not, let me define it, because there may be some who isn't. Clairaudient is somebody. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I'm familiar with the term, but please, go ahead, because I might have it wrong.
Yeah. Well, and somebody else out there might not know what it is. So, clairaudient is the psychic ability of psychic hearing, where you will hear things, and it comes out in a number of different ways. There is an aspect of clairaudience that is used in mediumship a lot of the time. They'll hear the voice of the departed one. Mm-hmm. Clairaudience can also come out that you hear what people are actually thinking versus what they're saying. I had somebody that I worked with that said, even since they were a little boy, that their mother could have the sweetest smile and say it in the most gentle way, and he'd be like, "Stop yelling at me," because she'd be yelling at him in her head. And she told me this story. She'd be like, I'd be so mad at him, and I'd take a deep breath, and I'd go, and I'd say, "Now, he'd be like, "Stop yelling at me." And she'd go, and I would, because he was so sensitive, I would make sure. But he was extremely clairaudient. Clairaudient can also be that you get your psychic messages through voices in your head. Well, if you talk about voices in your head, well, what's that called?
Schizophrenia.
Yeah. So the question is, how many people that have schizophrenia could have started with just being clairaudient? And then
interesting.
We're pushed into a mental illness and then lived up to the label that they had and just had a psychotic break. Do I believe in psychotic breaks? Absolutely. Do I believe in demons? Absolutely. But I believe in demons as an energy, a demonic energy. It's an emanating evilness.
Okay.
And so when that comes in to somebody, and again, I don't want to get into a lot of stories here, because if we want to talk about demonic depression, demonic possession, we should talk about the GOP.
Yeah. One will lead to the other, certainly.
Yeah. But I think it's a mixed bag. You know, if somebody is an empath and they don't understand what that is, and they're wide open and they're a strong empath, they're feeling what other people are feeling, and they get so affected that next thing you know, they're manic depressive or fast forward bipolar, because they're constantly having all of these feelings that they don't have a reason to have, and they go into a hyperdrive of feeling management that then plays out in a mental illness way. So it's complicated. It intertwines.
Yeah.
But if we recognized a very psychic child and told them it's okay and taught them how to deal with it, they're less likely to get labeled with some label. Because let's face it, AMA, APA, and pharmaceuticals. Number one thing is, what's our new thing for the week we can diagnose, prescribe, and find a pill for? Because that's how we stay in the money.
Yeah.
So they're looking. They're looking. And, you know, not that I'm saying all anybody is bad, but let's say in general, that's what moved those industries is they're not be healthy, stay healthy based, right?
Right.
Whether that's mental health, whether that's physical health, you know. So anyways, but yeah, that's definitely a way in. And I think, speaking of demonic possession, what happened in the House of Representatives this week? What do you think? How's it going to play out? I'm going to shift it. Or Chris is going to get mad at me if we don't talk about politics, because, you know, this is my favorite show of his a month, is having you on.
That was actually going to be my next question, because part of why the subject of demonic possession is so interesting to me is I'm trying to understand Matt Gaetz, and is he possessed, or is he just naturally malevolent? I stumped you.
He has no. I'm going to call it. I think Matt Gaetz has a baby version of Trump disease.
Yeah.
Successful, famous father who we don't know anything about the relationship between this guy and his father, but he definitely shows some narcissistic tendencies. He is, you know, an attention-seeking whore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that the man actually knows when he's lying. See, like with Trump, I don't think Trump knows when he's lying. I think Trump, that everything he says is the truth, even if he says the opposite 2 seconds later, that is the new truth.
Yeah, it's pathological.
It is pathological. I think there's a pathological nature to Gaetz. Go ahead.
You said something, though, about does Matt Gaetz have a famous father?
He was famous in the Republican Florida, the GOP Florida state.
Okay. Right. Okay, it's coming back to me now. Okay, right. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so he's famous. His dad is famous in politics, or was in Florida. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And you know, a lot of people are saying his strategy is he wants to run for governor because, DeSantis is definitely on a crash and burn. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but I heard this, and maybe you can verify if you heard this. He has agreed to have a debate with Gavin Newsom, and Gavin Newsom is going to chew him up and spit him out.
Yeah, I think that's happening. Last I knew, and I think Sean Hannity is going to be the moderator.
Yeah. Gavin is going to serve him breakfast, lunch, and dinner, regurgitated.
Ew, that's gross.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Do you think DeSantis can best Newsom in a debate?
No. I mean, Newsom is, even people who don't like Gavin Newsom will acknowledge. I mean, he's pretty sharp. He's smart. He's quick. We might have talked about this before, but Patrick Bet-David, I don't know if you're familiar with him and his podcast, but he was talking to somebody about Gavin Newsom, and Patrick Bet-David actually left California, moved his whole business to Florida, everything, because he hates Gavin Newsom so much and wanted to get away with him. But even Patrick Bet-David acknowledged that when Gavin Newsom sat down for that interview with Sean Hannity several months ago, that Newsom really brought it, and Newsom was prepared and really knew his stuff, and was very sharp and impressive. And I think he should be I think Newsom should probably be the Democratic nominee, to tell you the truth. And DeSantis isn't that great a debater. I mean, he had to debate Rick Scott, and he did well enough to defeat Rick Scott. Was it Rick? No, I'm sorry, not Rick Scott. Who was Charlie Crist? I'm sorry. He had to debate Charlie Crist, and pretty well crushed him in the election for governor. His DeSantis' re-election. So, but no, I don't think he can handle Newsom.
Now, I'm going to tell you, and I'm sure you're going to not find this any surprise, I find to some degree Newsom and Buttigieg are cut out of the same cloth.
Yeah.
Well prepared, highly intelligent. Newsom's more aggressive, but I think Pete's getting more assertive. But this is the future of the Democratic Party, is candidates like this. That, are people that are sharp, on top of it, keep throwing down the facts, can push back against people like Hannity or Trump. But we are coming up on our first break. We will be right back. And dive into the disaster known as Congress.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
If I could be you, And you could be me?
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the second half of the Dr. Kevin Show. I'm on this week with Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. Matt is 4 to 6, Monday through Friday, a drive time show. I used to call it the drive-through show. Drive time show on WMNH 95.3 if you're in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, or you could go to mattconnerton.com or ipmnation.com, and you can watch it live on the web. And still, I am in questions, participate. Speaking of which, you could be participating in this conversation if you'd like to. If you have some thoughts or ideas, we just ask that you're respectful. The only people that get to be disrespectful are me and Matt. And you can do that by calling in at 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. So, historic, the first speaker that's ever been bounced out by his own party. How do you see this? You know, we talked about what was it in it for Gates, Matt Gates, and, you know, that whole trying to become the Florida Republican, of course. You know, the numbers are working against him because there are more young people getting to the age that they can vote and more old MAGAs dying. So Florida could shift back blue, you know, sooner than we think. And one good hurricane could be very helpful. But not that I'm wishing for one, mind you.
No, well, actually, too, you mentioned that, but DeSantis seems to benefit from that, which I think helps keep Florida red because he tends to get pretty high marks for his handling of things after a hurricane. Floridians seem pretty happy with his disaster response, from what I can tell.
Yeah, but his own GOP supported in Florida is cracking. What I hear is...
Yeah. Well, they love Trump. They love Trump above all else.
And they want to get their invitation to Mar-a-Lago, you know?
Yes.
They want to be able to dive in the toilet and, you know, play, you know, like, you know, you bob for apples, you bob for secret documents.
That's right.
You know, go to any bathroom in Mar-a-Lago and you push your head in and see if you can come up with a secret classified document and sell it to the highest bidder. So, but also I have to ask, though, I do want to stay on what you think is going to happen with the House of Representatives. Did you see the Cassidy Hutchins interview on Jimmy Fallon?
Oh, do you mean Jimmy Kimmel, or did she also go on
Jimmy
Fallon?
Kimmel.
Okay.
No, Kimmel, sorry.
Actually, I saw that just this afternoon, yes.
Yes. So we may talk about that a little bit too, but let's stay with the House of Reps. What do you think is going to happen? We know what has happened. We know that Nancy Mace is on the outs with a lot of established Republicans right now. So if you want to do any review quarterbacking, any armchair quarterbacking on what's led us to this point, feel free to do it. If not, then we can talk about how do you see the way forward?
Well, I will say I said this on my show. I really kind of wish, and I understand why they didn't, But I really kind of wish the Democrats had rescued Kevin McCarthy, which they could have done. And I'll tell you why. And by the way, I understand all the reasons they didn't and all the reasons they didn't feel like they should and why they were perfectly happy to let him burn. And on the merits, I could not effectively argue against any of those reasons why they feel that way. So they have a right to feel that way. I get it. I'm not trying to be critical of the Democrats on this. However, to me, just pragmatically speaking, it's the devil you know. I'd rather deal with, see, there we are. We're back to that. We can't escape it, devils and demons and everything. But I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't. And in not rescuing Kevin McCarthy, whom I have very little regard for, I'm not trying to defend him, but the problem is now, you know, we might end up with Jim Jordan as House Speaker. And one of my deep concerns, thinking long term, but not even that long term, is, you know, what happens the next time it's time to raise the debt ceiling again, and say somebody like Jim Jordan is House Speaker at that point? What happens? Because at least Kevin McCarthy, as awful as he is for all kinds of reasons, at least Kevin McCarthy understood the importance of the country not defaulting on our debt. I'm not sure a guy like Jim Jordan cares. Steve Scalise, I would trust a little bit more. He's a little bit more of an establishment Republican than Jim Jordan, who I think is perfectly happy to, I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, Jim Jordan did not vote for the removal of Kevin McCarthy, but they're good friends. Jordan wouldn't do that. But I think he's a lot closer to that fringe, that Freedom Caucus fringe, than he is in terms of being a mainstream Republican. So I worry about where we end up. Now, again, I understand the Democrats, they don't trust McCarthy. He's broken his word. Nobody can trust the guy. And I understand that, you know, he was not conciliatory toward them at all. Just this past weekend, before this all happened, McCarthy was on the Sunday talk shows trying to find ways to blame the Democrats for us almost going into a government shutdown, and just, you know, just being very partisan as always, and just trying to blame everything on the Democrats. And apparently they played a video of that at the beginning of their meeting when the caucus met to decide what to do, if they were going to bail out McCarthy or just let him burn. So I understand all the reasons. And I think that if they were going to bail him out, if they were going to come to his rescue, it shouldn't be for free. Of course, you know, they should get something for that. But I also know it's hard to come to somebody's rescue who doesn't seem to want your help, because throughout this, McCarthy's attitude seemed to be, I don't want the Democrats to help me. I don't like them. I don't need their help. But they could have done it. They could have rescued him. I wish that they had, because I'm very, very deeply concerned about what happens next. I'm very concerned. So I can't blame them on the merits. I can't refute any of their arguments for why they didn't want to. I get it, but damn, I really kind of wish something could have been worked out here. I'd feel better with Kevin McCarthy there than Jim Jordan, or God knows who else. I'll say that.
Well, what was the guy's name? Huster, maybe? But he was the Speaker of the House that resigned and ended up going to jail.
Oh, Dennis Hastert.
Yep.
Hastert, yep.
And I was watching a commentator said, will the GOP learn from its past? Probably not. But putting in a wrestling coach who has allegations that in any way there was involvement in the abuse and the sexual abuse of wrestlers is probably not a good idea. And
right.
the people that are the witnesses are not letting it go. They're still speaking out. They're speaking out loud and saying, we went to him. We told him. He did nothing. He, so he allowed it to happen.
Right.
And so I just thought that was a wonderful little parallel. But, the GOP is so screwed up right now. The one thing, I understand what you're saying about McCarthy. It's that the time has come and gone. I think McCarthy might have been able to pull out some Democratic support and keep his gavel if he had gone on the morning shows and said, look, there are moderate Republicans that want to keep the government going and do not want all of these people to go without pay. The Democrats have come in. We worked as a team. That's the only way we're going to get anything done. I'm a speaker for the whole House, and we're going to start moving some things forward, and we're going to take the House back from a small group of extremists. And I think if he would have been willing to do that and negotiate in good faith with the Democrats, maybe they might have trusted him a little more. But his morning show thing was like, I think he almost wanted it to do. I think it put him out of his misery. I think he knew when he was saying those things on the morning show that he absolutely was like, I'm done with this job.
I think you might be right, Dr. Kevin, because I think if he had done what you just laid out, I think he could have. And I'm actually surprised that he didn't do that, because I've been under the impression this entire time that, keeping that gavel was the most important thing in the world to him. I mean, he went through, if there's anything that I will have a tiny bit of grudging respect for Kevin McCarthy, he doesn't, at least not usually, he doesn't give up. I mean, he went through 15 rounds of votes before finally becoming speaker. And, and I'll give him a little bit of credit, when I was terrified that for the first time in our nation's history, we were actually going to default on our debt. And he kept saying, no, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. And I didn't think he could get it done. And he did. And, so I was surprised that he didn't do what you just laid out, to be honest with you. But I think you might be right. I think there might have been something in him that just said, I've had enough. I can't keep doing this. I've had enough. And, I'm just gonna, screw it. He may have gotten to that point.
Yep. When I saw that, I'm like, yep, he decided this is not worth his bill in Tums.
Yeah.
And screw it. He will be recognized that he kept the funding going on his watch. The government didn't shut down. The debt ceiling got lifted. And in the history books, Gates and the Gates demons, back to demons, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, there was a Republican from where? South Dakota or North Dakota or whatever that I saw a clip of that was just interviewed. And I can't remember what his name was. I remember he was from one of the two Dakotas. And he said, the GOP has to fix itself because right now electing somebody else to run the clown car is not going to do any good because it's still a clown car.
Right. I saw that quote. I forget who it was who said that too, but I did see that quote. Yeah.
And I think that because there's a lot of Republicans who are in swing districts that are thinking, how am I ever going to get reelected if this shit show continues to spiral the way it is?
Yeah.
I don't remember what her name was. She was a woman of color. She was a bulldog. And when she was making the list of, and if Lauren, and if we shut down, there will be 8,937 people that will not get paid in Lauren Boebert's district, and there are going to be 13. Like she had the numbers of every one of the Republicans that was blocking it, and how many people in their actual districts were not going to get a paycheck on the first week of October because of their shenanigans. Did you see that clip?
I didn't see that. No.
Oh my God, Matt, you have to find it.
Yeah.
She was on fire, and she had the evidence right in her hand. She knew down to the last person how many people were not going to get paid if the government shut down in each of those troublemakers' actual districts.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. It was a powerful click. I think she might be from Florida, actually. One of the few Democrats from Florida. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Oh, so was it Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
If I find the clip, I'll grab it and text it to you because you want to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So now this, I think, just happened before we went on air, and I know you go from your show to this show, but now they have filed a motion to dismiss all of the federal charges against Trump because Trump said he was just doing his job as president to make sure the election was done, and he's asked Judge, I can't pronounce her last name off the top of my head, but the female judge in D.C.
Is it Chutkan?
Chutkan. Yeah, Chutkan. That's it is.
It's hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah, has asked Chutkan that this whole case should be thrown out because he was just acting as president to make sure there were fair elections.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, why didn't he say so sooner?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is going to work.
Could have just told us.
Chutkan's going to? Because he just got a gag order, a very limited gag order, but a gag order from his current trial that he's going through. Mm-hmm. There's a conversation coming up about what the parameters of a gag order are going to be from Chutkan. Any thoughts on that?
Well, the biggest problem to me, and it really is, like, I wasn't kidding when I said it's hard to keep track of it all. I'm having a hard time even keeping track of who's looking at issuing a gag order and who hasn't yet, and this and that, because Trump insults everybody, and he tries to put everybody in danger, which he really does when he's talking about these people. There's always a risk that some militia freak is going to try to kill somebody, one of these judges or a law clerk or somebody. So, but one of the difficult things is if you put a gag order on Trump and then he violates it, which he will, what do you do then? Do you put him in jail? How does that work? I mean, we're in so much uncharted territory here. I mean, I'd be fine with seeing Trump thrown in jail, but we have the other problem of no matter what is done to Trump, whether he's indicted for something or thrown in jail for something, no matter what it is, all it does is make him stronger, and it helps him raise money. I mean, we're in such a incredible time. I mean, it's just so bizarre.
I think the word you're looking for is dysfunctional.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Well, he's not holding up well. Did you see the Fox News thing they did where somebody on Fox News talked about his demented ramblings and gave several quotes he had given in the last week?
Oh, yeah. I think it was Tarlov on the 5 who did that. Yeah.
It was on the 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, if Loretta James gets half of it and him losing his business license in New York, and his stuff being put up for sale, which it already has. He's lost the case.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand he's lost the case. You understand he doesn't understand he's lost the case.
Right.
He doesn't get that he's lost it.
Yeah, yeah.
He literally does not get that the case is lost. And so if somebody in receivership, somebody buys Trump Tower and they take Trump down, we could just see the poor man just, sitting sucking his thumb in a diaper in the middle of Manhattan. I mean, that's so much of what makes him up.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. I've noticed a pattern with him in his speeches where he seems to be, because it's happened a number of times now, where he seems to, in his mind, he confuses Biden with Obama. He talks about beating Obama in 2016, he talks about beating Obama in 2016 like he ran against him, and he talks about even the Obama administration acknowledges how much of the wall that Trump built, and it seems to happen a lot. Like he can't keep them straight in his head.
Well, I ran across this old clip that it was when Obama was still president, and it was some kind of dinner or something, and Trump was at it, and he was already running, but Obama was still president, and Obama just humiliated him time and time and time again.
Oh yeah, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Yeah,
and I think that this is part of what has made Trump obsessed with Obama, because he humiliated him.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's more than the Trump mind can take. Because it's inherently racist. It's inherently racist. It has a big, huge white supremacist thing. And he was humiliated.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that in his mind, as his mind is slipping, because he won't be able to take these defeats. He's mentally not capable of taking them. We're going to see a psychotic break. We just have to hope it happens before. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'd like to see it happen in the middle of him running for president.
Yeah, before he's elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe after he's got the nomination.
Right.
But you watch, we can see it coming. The confusion, the screwing up the names, stuff like this. Yeah, no, he's headed for some kind of psychotic break. And again, I just want to remind all my listeners, though I'm a doctor, I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot diagnose, I cannot prescribe. And I am not doing this as a professional diagnosis. I am not a clinician. But he's going to have some kind of break if things don't somehow start picking up. And, I've heard a lot of talk about the possibility of Will Chutkan, that's the DC one, Will Chutkan, if Trump gets out of hand, she won't throw him in jail. She'll just move the trial up really quickly so he can't take the jewelry pool, which is his worst nightmare.
Yeah.
So, and that could really be the beginning of game's over if that happens. Because, she made a statement somewhere of, if you can't control him, then I think the comment, because it's not like it's just a fear. She made a comment of some kind, and in that comment, was like, if he's going to, if he's not going to stop and he's going to take the jury pool, we'll have the trial in October.
Mm-hmm.
and she can do that.
Oh yeah, that would be something.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of moving pieces here. What do you think Nancy Mace is up to? Why did she turn on McCarthy at the last minute and not make herself very popular? Any ideas?
Not really. I'm pretty puzzled by it, to be honest with you. I don't know what her game is.
Okay.
You know, I think she has a big future in the Republican Party, but I don't know what she's trying to do.
So, Trump Speaker of the House, Liz Cheney Speaker of the House?
Probably neither. But I would take Liz Cheney.
I'd take Liz Cheney too.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll have lots more to talk about when I talk to you next month.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Kevin.
Thanks as always. Have a good one. Bye.
You too.